How's the week going though? You said you're a little exhausted though from the
Yeah, it's
holiday weekend.
good.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I didn't really do anything though. It was lovely. Everybody's like, "Oh, big plans for the weekend." I'm like, "No, at all." It was great.
No weenies on the grill or burgers, none of that stuff?
No, I went up actually Saturday we went up to Sarah's house
Mm,
and cuz she had to like be she had like something done and she had to stay inside all
hmm
week. So she was getting a little stir crazy. So we did a she's like,
Wait,
"I really want beef stroganoff."
wait, she had like there was like a procedure, she couldn't go in the sun?
Yeah, we'll just say that.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
So she was like getting a little stir crazy. She's like, I really want beef stroganoff. So
Yeah.
we made homemade beef stroganoff for lunch and like sat on her back balcony and like ate beef
Nice.
stroganoff in the
That's
middle of the
awesome.
day.
Is she
But
a
it's
is she a
weird
rad
here.
place?
Oh yeah, it's so nice. She's got like a separate studio, like a
Yeah.
huge courtyard where you can hang, and then like
Jesus.
the main house,
Yeah.
and then it overlooks. It's like up Laurel Canyon, which is I don't know how familiar
I
you are
know
with out
of.
here.
Have I been? No, but I know of. Yeah.
It's so nice. It's
Yeah.
like in the 70s it was like the hippie part of the
Yeah,
hills.
wasn't this where all like the Manson murders and stuff had kind of happened up that way with Sharon Tate
Ish.
and
You know what is up there is have you ever heard of the Wonderland murders?
yes, I have actually.
So
Yeah.
she used to live on Wonderland.
Ooh,
But it's all like in that nook.
that's
So
spicy.
yeah, it's so pretty. Like John Lennon and Yoko had a place up there. Like it's
Nice.
like very yeah. So we like did that. Sunday we went bowling. Because it's
Nice.
weird in California. It's not like super hot. We have like the June gloom or whatever.
Right.
So it's like hazy during the day. At
Right.
like 2:30, the sun starts to come out, but it's like at that point you're like, I'm not schlepping all the way to the beach.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, how
So
what's the level of effort that you have to put in to go to the beach in terms of drive, commute, your
if I just want to go to a beach,
yeah.
30 minutes.
That's not too bad.
No, I feel like that's like no different than how I grew up. Like even though I grew up like
Right.
on the quote like Jersey Shore, I grew
Right.
up on like the Bayside, which like
Mhm.
overlooked, like overlooked the city.
Yeah.
So regardless with traffic and stuff, it would still take me 15 to 30 minutes to get to a proper beach.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's really no different. But like if you want to go to like a really nice beach, you're schlepping to Malibu, it's an hour. You're going to
Yeah.
Laguna, hour plus,
Yeah.
which is like what Jerry and I'll do like typically in the summers. Like we'll get up on a Sunday at like get out of the house by like 9:30. We
Yeah.
stop, we get sandwiches, and then park it at the beach till like 4 or 5.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
For Lex and I, we've talked about it. Now going to the beach is like a completely different thing because now it's you're potentially schlepping God knows
Yeah.
what because of the kid, right? So
You got
you've
to get
got
the trailer thing,
no,
the
dude.
wagon.
It all looks miserable to me. Like do it in a heartbeat for my daughter to have a great day, but you see
Yeah.
these like parents where just look like hunchbacks. They got the pool cooler with the kid sitting down on it, and they got two chairs and an umbrella, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, that looks miserable.
Dude, the best part is like when they hit a certain age, you're like, you want to like teach them to like try to like carry something themselves. So you always see like the parents like getting crazy and have a
Yeah,
million things, like you said. And then the
yeah.
kids got like a shovel and they're like, I can't
That's
hold this. You're
Joe's
like,
kind of at that point right now, even too.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
yeah,
I mean. You
yeah.
want to like teach her the lesson, like you have to help.
Hmm.
And then they're like, this is exhausting.
Yeah, right now the big one is trying to get her to help with like picking up. That's so it's like, toys and the mayhem kind of gets
It goes
unleashed.
in the box or
Yeah, and
whatever.
she's only 2. So she's right on the brink of kind of understanding what that's like. But she understands it to a degree right now. So I will
Yeah.
start to, just be a little bit more patient because I can just go through and Zoom and get everything done really quick. But I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, can you go get me those 5 blocks that you threw over there, sort of thing,
And it takes like 20 minutes. You're like, I
Yeah.
would have already had them in the
It's
box.
a thousand. It's 1,000% 20 minutes. It takes forever with it, but she's picking it up. So
I
yeah,
told Lex yesterday, Joe looks like she's thriving. Like she looks like she's having so much fun.
I mean, we were just
I don't
talking
know.
about it
Yeah.
before I came down to record, and yeah, it's gonna be sad to leave.
Hmm.
I when I lived here, because I was here for around a little over 7 years, and
Right.
I remember of thinking at that time of I was like, this is the best version of myself I've ever been. I mean, now granted, it was in my 20s, and that's a very transformable time and everything, but just in terms of like the city and my community that I had here and the opportunities it for work, it was like the best. And
Yeah.
so being back, it's been, I don't know, I just like kind of like I didn't expect to slip back into that. Um but I have, and then for her, it's been great. I mean, I was even talking to my mom the other day, and there's a little bit of, I love my mom, but she doesn't know anything about New York. And, it's kind of the whole thing of like, concrete
Sure.
jungle, like there's not green. I'm like, no,
Sure.
dude, you got to understand, like, she's getting every day out, and you're just to
Sure.
go walk. There's a million parks around here. Or,
Yeah.
like I'd posted, I'd taken her to that one play place, it was a little bit of like a beige baby kind of play place, but it was still super rad.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just like ample opportunities for her to just to go be a kid and do her thing.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
Everybody's
we
forced to
love it.
do that. And like I
Yes.
told
Yeah.
Lex too, I feel like the opportunity, like being in a city environment too, is like meeting other parents and
Yep.
things like that. Like I do, like we were saying yesterday, like LA or just any major city, if you will, but like LA and New York, you're getting people that are having kids probably later in life,
Yes.
like late 30s, early 40s, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like they focused on career and they're trying to like manage all the things at this point. It
Yeah.
just happened later in life where you're connecting with people that are probably like more in your space that were
Yeah.
like, I want to live this life,
Yep.
but I also want to like have kids, do the career, do all the things. So
Yep.
you find like a little more like-minded where like, not knocking middle America whatsoever, like everybody's choice is their own, but you'll find more of those like, we're married at 25, we've got
Yeah.
a group of children, and it's
Yeah.
just like, it's definitely a different lifestyle. That's even like out here when I would think about like, oh, having kids or not having kids, like the age wasn't the factor
Yeah.
because you really truly can. I mean, it is, but in some senses, sure, but
Yeah.
you know,
We both have friends that they make it work, and they're even thriving, I think, as parents of, doing it in LA, doing it in New York,
yeah,
like any big metropolitan area. So that's always
it's
helpful for me
nice.
of having, because all of my, core group of friends here, besides two, they all have kids, and they all make it work. And,
Totally.
and I met up with like one of my buddies and his wife and their son a couple weeks ago. And even he, as much as I know he still loves the city, but he's been ready for years to leave, you know?
But he didn't have that like break either,
Well, that's it.
potentially.
That's exactly it. I think I think for any place, if you have any sort of kind of like a wanderlust personality a little bit, at a certain point,
Hmm.
you're just going to kind of hit your limit and say,
Sure.
I've done this. I'm ready to
I
try
want a
something new.
yard. I want to put my
Yes.
feet up.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
But
get
even here,
it.
it's like the place that we have in Brooklyn. It has like an awesome yard in the
Yeah,
back, and all of the houses around in this neighborhood have yards. It's
I
perfectly
know.
fine. So, but yeah, Joe's been loving it. The dogs, I was like kind of surprised with it, but Finn's been
They're
freaking,
fine.
yeah, dude, she's crushing it. She gets like two super long walks a day, and there's just smells and people and sounds everywhere, and she's just
Yeah.
engaged. I was a little anxious of doing, coming here with both the animals and my kid, and I thought it was going to be much more tiring and taxing than what it has been, but
Nice.
it's been nice. I don't know. It's I wouldn't say it's a signed, sealed, and delivered thing that like we're going to end up in New
Sure.
York, but it's. I think Lex and I are both kind of like womp womp. This is going to stink to leave, sort of thing. So
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure. I will say the one thing, because like obviously growing up like on the East Coast, like
yeah,
I never gave New York a shot.
hmm
And I think it just organically just didn't happen.
yeah,
And then once I moved out here, all I ever wanted to do once I moved to like a city
hmm
was like, shoot, every time I want to go home now, like I want to go to New York. And I'm like, that would be the one thing I would say, like, I wish I experienced a little bit before I had like booked it out west
Would
to try
was
to
it
live in.
was it not in like the forefront for you because a lot of people from back home were just doing New York, so it felt too atypical? You were just like, I don't want to.
Well, I just feel like by the time I was 25, I like had a boyfriend and we were
Yeah.
like on this track of like California being like the dream.
Yeah.
But had I been like single and maybe stayed for a little bit longer, I might
Hmm.
have done that. But I was also, I think you and I have talked a lot about like the fear of change.
Yeah.
Like moving to California was bonkers,
Yeah.
but it felt the same. Like moving to New York felt intense too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
California just won in the conversation.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
but
I again, I feel like the older I get, I'm much more fine dipping in and accepting these like dumb sayings. But that dumb saying of like with New York, like you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. But I do believe there's
yeah,
some validity to that. There's some truth of that
yeah.
because it can be super intimidating and
Hmm.
taxing and all the things in the concrete jungle, which if you don't have a car, you definitely feel encapsulated here at times. But it's
Yeah.
like even my 7 years here, it was towards the end of uh, always feeling a little bit weird because obviously I wasn't born and grew up here. I came here a ton as a kid, but of referring to myself as a New Yorker. But by the end of it, I was like, no, I think like I've fucking been here a long time. It's not like that I was here
Yeah.
for 6, 7 months. I was here for 6, 7 years, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it was always at the end I left obviously because I wanted to change, but I loved it. Every time I came back into town, it was just like, like I'm home and energy and all that
Yeah.
good stuff. So,
It's crazy. I don't know it that well, but I definitely feel like I wish I like did it once and spent a couple years there.
well, even Lex, so we're gonna go to Jersey tomorrow to go check out Point
Yeah.
Pleasant, which will be great.
Yeah, it'll be nice.
But even Lex has like said for New York as a potential destination, she's like, I just feel like at some point Alicia's coming back to this side. She's like, I just feel like it's gonna happen, just for
I
whatever
know.
family stuff or whatever. So she's again, that's like a little bit of hanging, the hat on a dream sort of thing. But yeah,
I love her
she
so
feels like you're coming
much.
back. Yeah. So
You
yeah,
never know.
you never know.
I'm like just gonna miss you guys too when I go out for a visit,
That's
which
right. I
is such
forgot
a
you were coming.
bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to like swing Memorial Weekend and it just like was like too much. It was
Yeah.
really expensive to
Yeah.
like piggyback my Texas trip. So anyway, I'm going out. I'm gonna go to Atlanta for work and I'm in June, so I'm gonna piggyback June 18th and come out there. So I'm
Nice.
literally missing you guys by like a week and a half,
But
which is such a
are you
bummer.
visiting your mom? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is also nicer because like Memorial Weekend typically is always like a bust, and it
Yeah.
wound up being nice, I think.
Yeah.
So like typically it's like if you try to like, oh, this is Memorial Weekend, we're gonna get
Hmm.
crazy, it always winds up fucking raining or it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
super cold out.
Yeah.
So June you could always like, for the most part, bet on it being pretty nice.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It'll be good.
I'm
I'm sure. I'm
excited.
sure your mom's super pumped.
Hell yeah!
Yeah.
And now we're trying to make some plans.
Would she like skin you alive if you came out to the coast and you didn't see her? Just be like, how dare you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, I thought about it all the time. Lexi's so funny. She's like, why don't you just say you have to go for work, spend a couple
Yep.
days, like just lie and go into, because that's always the thing. Like I always want to like come out there and I would love to spend like a night or two in the city.
Yeah.
But like the walking piece is just not going to be for her because I
Yeah.
don't care if she's with me or not. Like
Yeah.
it does, that part doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just know it's like a lot on her
Yeah.
to do the city, but I always want to go into the city and it's like really hard. Like it's a lot of like my friends that I grew up with, they're not necessarily like city people
Right.
per se.
Right.
So like for them, like every time I want to come home and I'm like, hey, does anybody want to do a night in the city? They're like, no.
Yeah.
And like now they have kids and it's like obviously like a way bigger thing. They're like, I'm not spending my one night off schlepping to the city. Like they look at it like this is the most annoying fucking thing in the world.
They want to recharge their batteries. They don't want to like have to go expel energy and deal with getting
Yeah.
in and walking and sweating or any of that. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I know I thought about it, but oh God, I'd feel so guilty. You know me well enough to know that I'd just be riddled with anxiety for 2 days,
It'd
being
be.
like, she's so close.
I know that'd be tough. That would be tough.
I
But then
know.
again, it's like if you're here, I don't think it's overly selfish if you're like, I'm taking one night. Like,
No, and I've done that for sure. I
yeah.
think it was definitely, I think like now, like I obviously like genuinely like want to go home and spend time
Yeah.
because it's like I don't get that like if I could have dinner with her every other week,
Yep.
it would definitely
Be great.
like that would be great.
Yeah.
But you're trying to pack 6 months of not seeing one another
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
into a week.
Yeah.
So it's intense,
Yeah. Exhausting. Yeah.
but it's also like you feel bad about that one night. Or I'll like leave for one day and then it's like, well, what time are you coming home? No big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
No
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
deal. But
Yeah.
like, what time? And you're
Yeah.
like, fuck.
Yeah. Wait,
You're
you're
like,
going to
I
be out
guess,
that late, and then you start to feel a little guilty because you're like,
yeah.
ah, I don't know, dude. We're not gonna watch a rerun of
Yeah.
Jeopardy together or midnight. So just go to bed.
I don't know. We might.
Would you? All
We
right.
might.
Cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
we might.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
love me
No.
some Jeopardy.
It's been good, man. It's honestly been good. It was nice even the other day. I fucking even before we jumped on here, I had like a little cry fest upstairs. So
Oh,
26 of this month was anniversary of my dad passing.
yeah.
Kind of one of those things. And I had not unbeknownst, but Lex had just taken Jamie and Taylor to the airport because they came out to stay.
Right.
And I was like doing some work, and I happened to be in my Google Drive, and there was an old talk that my stepdad had given. It was at his church at the time, but it was a Father's Day talk, and it's like him talking about my brother, my stepbrother, and their relationship and our family dynamic. And it was just like I saw it, I clicked play, waterworks instantly. I was just like, oh, fuck
It'll happen every
Christ,
goddamn time.
dude. I know.
I know.
It was like the day of it was. I definitely kind of just. I didn't tell Lex, and she was a little upset at me, but that she understands. But I just kind of like got in my hole. That was the day I took Joe to that place. I just was kind of like, I want to be distracted by my daughter, and it's also one of those things where it's like just being a parent kind of puts me in that. I don't know. It's like a very uncomfortable. It's like a sad, angry state that I get, but it's also. I have like a ton of gratitude, like like they kind of go hand in hand a little bit, but I feel those the most when it's just, I'm kind of very present with Joe, just thinking of him being a dad, but yeah, I don't know. It came out of fucking nowhere.
It's a lot. I mean, listen, I think about it all the time. Like, even so, I have to go to Atlanta for work. Technically, we have to be there June 17th. But because of the timing, I was like, I don't want to wake up on Monday at like 3 a.m. to get to the airport because I'd have to take like a really early flight. So I was like, oh, I'll go the day before. It didn't dawn on me at first. And then I was like, oh, it's Father's Day. And I was like, honestly, that's the fucking best. I'm just going to be on a plane all day. I'm not going to have social media. I'm going to watch movies because those are like, I feel like a Father's Day or something like that is like a major trigger. But even like, the anniversary of his passing, I feel like last year, weirdly, just the day came and went. You understood what day it was. I was working, I'm busy, it's just like whatever. But then all of a sudden it'll be like a birthday or a random day. I mean, it just happens. And especially, and I don't know about you, but like, it is true as time goes on, things get, quote, easier. Ish, but time is also really fucking weird too. So like people are like, oh well, like in time things will start to get easier. I'm like, yeah, it's not that it doesn't get like you're able to like wake up every day and necessarily not cry after 3, 4, 5, however many years. But then also that timepiece is really tough. And I'm imagining because it's so longer you haven't seen them. And then having a child, I'm sure adds a lot. Yeah,
it's a different level of again, just complexity, because when you lose losing a, like, we talked about it with Jen of both you and I have lost people in our lives, and whether if it's family, friends, any of that stuff. The parent one hits on a different level. It's a very primal thing. It's like an essence of us, right? It's like it's your fucking parent that now is not here. Totally. And so so then me being a parent and having those, again, it's like I try to describe it too. Like I carry my grief with me every single day. Right. And now there's a lot of days that are better than not, that I can kind of push it to the side and not let it creep up. But that shit is sneaky, and it finds a way to pop up, like you're saying, of those instances, like for me, if I'm watching a game like sports or something like that, or if I go to the hardware store, like all these little tidbits of this father son, and I had memories with this guy, and even hitting play on that like audio record, like his voice.
That's a tough one.
I miss it the most. I think it's like, and I hear that from a lot of people. It's like you miss the voice, you miss the that cue.
Well, it makes it real again. You're like, oh my god,
I know.
You're like here, I know. And I'm looking at you, and I'm seeing your words.
I know.
It's fucking trippy.
The voice is a really tough one.
Yeah,
but yeah, I always going back to it's like you kind of carry it every day, and it's you kind of push
Yeah.
it aside. I understand of the saying of like, oh, it gets easier, over time because it's not, I think it's a lot like people are meaning because it's not in the forefront of your mind as much as when it like first happens.
Sure.
But I also like I just had a family member pass away when I was here, and I
Right.
was talking with my younger brother Taylor, who was on the pod.
Mm-hmm.
And Tay hasn't done, he hasn't dealt with like a ton of death, besides some grandparents, which is still super tough and
Totally.
tragic. But I just like reiterate that like this shit sucks.
Oh
It
yeah.
it does. I'm like it does not get easier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think sitting and accepting that is like a very healthy thing. That just it's because there's a
Yeah.
little bit of like I don't know. I feel like I don't want it to get easier sometimes. Like I don't want to be okay with the fact that this person's not around in my life anymore.
No. No.
It's fucking weird. I don't
I
know.
remember I had a close girl, and obviously, until you experience something, I think like obviously, I've had friends that have passed away, grandparents, like weird things here and there, where you hear somebody like really weird ones where you're like, remember so and so in grammar school? Like, oh, they passed away. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't seen them in 20 some odd years, but that's wild to think
Yeah.
someone like your age or whatever.
Yeah, those are
But
trippy.
a parent is really until you experience it, obviously you don't really know. And I remember I had a girlfriend that did not sugarcoat anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like really am grateful for that because she was like, this is going to fucking suck. This
She
is
had
going to
said
be
this, like she lost a parent, or she just was like
she
kind of
had
had
lost
four.
a parent.
Okay, and
She
told it
had
was
lost
telling you this. Gotcha.
yeah, and when it happened, like, and we were kind of like, obviously after the first few couple weeks or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and you're like trying to catch up, and I'm like, dude, this is like so heavy and
Yeah.
it's so intense, and I don't know how to like, what do I do? And
Yeah.
she's like, you just got to roll with it, man. She's
Yeah.
like, it fucking sucks. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
It's fucking terrible. And until they experience it, they're never going to get it. And that's how I felt because I've had friends that had lost parents before me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you think you did all the things, like, I'm so sorry. And like,
Yeah.
like you just like don't know. And you're
Yeah.
like, then it happens to you and people are like, oh, he's in a better place or
Yeah.
is this?
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Nothing you're saying matters.
Nothing's
It all
happening.
fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But it's sneaky, like to your point. Like I remember like last summer, like Jerry and I'll always like grill in the back or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
I just one day I started just the tears were rolling. We were grilling
Yeah.
hot dogs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's like, are you okay? And I was
Yeah.
like, he just loved hot dogs.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what I mean? And it's just
Yeah.
so silly.
Yeah.
I think that I have like, whether it's like a healthy coping mechanism or
Mm-hmm.
not,
Yeah.
but I definitely am one that's like, that big ball in your throat where you're like, okay,
Yes.
you're just like, you think about things, but I try to unthink about it really fast. And it's
Yeah.
just the only way to like really manage it. Like if
Yeah.
I sit there and really start thinking and spiraling,
Yeah.
it'll be tough. I mean, dude, a couple months ago, my phone updated without my permission.
Mm.
And I lost all my voicemails. And I
That
was
happened
like, you
to
gotta
me.
be fucking kidding me.
Yep.
So it did wind up getting fixed once I re-updated it.
Yeah.
Like another update, all
Yeah.
of them came back, but I spiraled and
Yeah.
I was so devastated. I was like, I thought I emailed it to me. Like,
Yep.
I can't believe it. So when it did come back on after like probably a month,
Yeah.
all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, yes. And I was
Yeah.
immediately like emailing it to like me, my mom, just
Yeah.
like
Just so
everybody
you had
back
copies
up.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah, because it is one of those things like, I don't know. I mean, I have videos and stuff like that, but
Yep.
those like personal, like your birthday call.
Yeah, man.
I
lost a couple of those too.
sucks.
I had one in particular. I remember after he passed away, and he had called, and it was all like I noticed this for myself. So ever since my dad has passed away, I've had a real lack of being able to like get invested in sports, which that was our thing. Like he grew up, or he brought me up on
Sure.
every Indiana team you could imagine, and this and that, but it's just that like I can't deal with it. But I had one voicemail of where he did like a casual call, and it was post a Colts game, and it's just like, hey buddy, just want to call, tell you I love
Yeah.
you. Like, how about them Colts? And
Oh God, you're like,
it was
Yeah.
and it had a phone. It was all saved on that phone. I'm sure I could back. But I was riding. I took a motorcycle trip to go to a wedding in Tahoe, and on the way back, I got hit with like horrible monsoon of a rainstorm. Like of any
Oh,
time I've ever been on a bike that I should have been dead, it was this trip, just because I was trying to power
sure.
through it like an asshole. But my phone, because I had to have it mounted up front,
For
to
your GPS or
yes,
whatever. Yeah.
and I mean, again, it was a monsoon, so it was just soaked in water and just short circuited and was done, and then that was that, and I couldn't
Oh,
find that voicemail anymore. I was like, "Fuck."
dude, it was a gut punch. And I was like riddled
Yeah,
with anxiety, at
yeah,
least like the first week. And then I was like, I called Verizon. They're like, there's nothing we can do. It's so and
yeah,
so's fault. You call Apple, they're like, it's Verizon's
yeah.
fault.
You go,
And you're
someone
just
just
like,
fix this.
you're like, you don't understand. And then when you start Googling, that's what everybody's talking about. They're like,
Yeah,
I had voicemails of like so and so. I think the way that I always like try to spin it to like make myself feel better, if you
hmm,
will, is like I do have friends that have lost parents at really, really, really young ages,
yeah,
or parents weren't present at all.
sure,
Um, for whatever reason. So I think like I try to like spin it and like I'm so grateful. I think I
yeah,
was like 35. Yeah, because we're coming up on it'll be 5 years in October
yeah. Those are
that he
wild.
passed. So I know. So
Yeah,
it's I at least try to spin it in a sense of like I'm so grateful I had 35 years. Some people get 5 years.
yeah. It's the
Some
gratitude
people
part. Yeah,
have so you really it's like you just have to it's a mind fuck.
yeah.
And it sucks regardless. My favorite, and I'm like, this is like really also like not cool of me.
What's
But
this?
I like we were watching Jeopardy once, and there's this like every so often he actually because he's won a lot of games, he's like reoccurring sometimes, and he'll
Hmm.
be like. He looks like he's like 60 and he's like, oh, my parents drove out to watch me play Jeopardy. I'm like, this motherfucker has both parents. He's like 100. That is so
Those
unfair.
are, I was gonna say, those are the ones where you're just like, dude, what? How did that happen for you, man?
I
Yeah,
know. Like,
yeah,
what do you mean? They both are like healthy enough to like drive across the country to come
yeah.
watch you play Jeopardy. You're like 100. They've got to be 150. Like,
Well,
I don't
it's
understand.
I'm such a Marin fan, Mark Marin fan, and both of his parents are still alive too. And you're like, holy crap! I mean,
It's
again, his
crazy.
dad has dementia, like early onset
That
dementia and
sucks.
some stuff. But yeah, like both of his
Sure.
parents are kicking, doing their thing, and you hear this 60-year-old man on a mic talking about his parents, and you're like, wait, what?
It's so unfair.
Yeah, you
I
got
mean,
30 more years with one of your parents than I ever did. Like, god dang, dude. I
lucky.
know. I
I
know.
know. But it is crazy. Like, and obviously I don't have children, but I remember like even Jen, who was on last week,
Yep.
like, I know that there were pieces as like Wilder was getting older, and I think that was like certain things that maybe happened like when she was growing up,
Sure.
whether it be like things that because her mom obviously passed away as well,
Yeah.
and just other little things where like it didn't like she found like the coping mechanisms as she was like getting older, but
Yes.
then when she had kids, it was like a whole new like
Yeah.
holy shit,
Yeah.
like this is how I want to do things, or this is how, or you like think of like, wow, I never had this when I was growing up, so
Right.
I want to like be the best
Do
at.
that for them. Yeah.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
putting so much pressure on you, so like it stirs up a lot too,
Yeah.
whether you had like the most amazing relationship or you didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then obviously her grandmother passed away, so it was
Which
like,
is
and that's who raised
horrible.
her,
Yeah.
a few years back. So like that was tough too because it
Yeah.
felt like the last piece,
Yeah.
which is also a mind fuck. But yeah, it's all
Yeah.
terrible.
It's just, yeah, it's a weird thing when the person or persons that you literally like, that's my North Star in life. That's like my
Uh-huh.
straight and narrow barometer. When they're not around
Hmm.
anymore to kind of help guide you or give you advice, it's scary. It's like super
Yeah.
alarming and it feels crippling, and you're kind of, I mean, I remember the day that he passed. I was so exhausted. I took a walk. Immediate rainstorm. There's not supposed to be any rain in the forecast sort of thing. And I was just like, all right, this is not a coincidence. This is a moment. Like, you're just giving me this.
Yeah.
I'm going to go walk in the rain. But I talked to him and I was like, I'm terrified of where this
Yeah.
is, like how I'm going to be navigating life without having you in my ear kind of giving me advice. And I was like, just said, fucking keep an eye out for me. Like keep a hand on my
Oh,
shoulder sort of thing. Like just you gotta,
yeah.
just promise me you're gonna do that. But it is it's terrifying.
I know I'm
Um
so blunt with people too when like they talk about certain things and I'm like,
yeah.
just be ready. It is going to fucking like it's now I'm
Yeah.
the friend that told me it was like saddle up.
Yeah.
Like it's there's no sugarcoating it.
But it's good.
It's
It's good that
fucking
you
whether you know it's coming or not too,
yeah,
right?
it's good
Like
that you do that though. I think that I mean that's even the reason too where like I enjoy talking about it and these things because I think for people that either have or haven't gone through it, like when there's a community and there's like, not like-minded, but people that
yeah.
have shared experiences of grief and of loss, I think it like dulls the blade a little bit, right? Like it kind of
Yeah.
oh hey, if they've gone through it and they're finding ways to cope, and again, this is just an
Yeah.
inevitable thing that everybody's going to deal with loss.
Yeah.
Then okay, let me kind of hear their tale and see what advice they have and how they're getting through it. So
Yeah, I had a really close friend of mine who had a very, very awesome relationship, like how my father and I had too. Just
yeah,
like straight up daddy's girl,
hmm
whatever. And he passed away about a year after my dad. And I
hmm
remember her just calling me and being like, "What do I do?"
yeah,
And I was like, "You just feel all the feels and just
yeah,
you have to go on the ride. You
yeah,
have to just like be there, talk when you want to talk, don't talk when you don't. You know what I mean? There's no
yeah.
rules.
No, there's not.
There's absolutely no rule to feeling better. It's just time. And
Yeah,
it's not time because you're gonna feel better. You're
sure.
still so fucking upset.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
just
yeah,
learn to manage and like, wake up because she was definitely like in a hole,
yeah.
like not getting out of bed for
Which
like
is brutal.
months.
I don't. You might have told me this before. Was there a big difference in your family from how people were coping with your dad's loss? Like between your
Um,
mom and your sister, and even extended family or friends, and because the reason I'm asking this because I remember that was such a learning curve for me. And again, like
yeah,
when I was in high school, I lost my brother. Like that was a big hit to our family. But with my
right.
dad, because he was such the glue and with seeing everybody how they dealt with it, I really had to re-educate myself of realizing that people cope with loss and different kind of waves. So I was curious for
Totally.
you of how that was.
I would say that like the immediate was intense. I
Hmm.
crippled. I like
Yeah,
that first week or two, like I was like not okay. Like
yeah,
nobody talked to me. I was just like couldn't eat,
yeah,
couldn't whatever. That's
yeah,
how I was managing it. I just couldn't deal.
yeah.
My mom was so like I just like she just put
Was
her
your
big
mom in
girl pants
shock?
on. No, so the problem was like my dad had been sick for a really long time.
Yeah,
It was very shocking because my dad's always just like figured it, like always
he's
made it out.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? Like he's been told by multiple doctors, they're like, you did it again, Superman. Like, we don't know
yeah.
how you fucking did this. You
Right,
know what I mean?
right.
So like that particular weekend, like when I got a call on a Friday morning that was like, pack your bags, get home right now. Dad's like in the hospital, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
And my mom's like you might want to bring like extra clothes,
yeah,
like
yeah.
this is
They're
like,
gonna
and
be
I'm
here.
like fuck you, like
Yeah,
this is crazy.
yeah,
I feel like my sister is very like, you know get things done, wanted to like not like she was just like not really showing a lot of emotion where I was just the crippled crying.
sure.
Like after it happened, I was the one like in the hospital on the ground,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
not okay.
Was that typical for you
Uh
guys of personalities, or was it almost like a role reversal?
yeah, no, I'm not like
I feel like
I
you're
mean, I'm like strong, but
yeah.
like I'm not.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
but
I'm
you
very
also
emotional. I'm like, I'll cry at a movie. I cry when I
sure.
see like if you see like a sweet dad like with his little daughter,
I'm
like you know
done.
what I mean. Like I am a very emotional. I've also spent years and years of like therapy
Yep,
and like knowing it's okay,
yep.
feel your
It's
feels. Like
huge.
I'm like very much that person.
Yeah,
So but my mom was so good to like, she was like, because immediately you're getting, like when someone passes away, it's like, you've got this company and that company, and you have to figure this out. And it's like, pick of this, pick of that.
it's a
What kind of urn
business.
do you want?
Yeah,
And you're just like, I remember like going to pick out like urns
yeah.
with my family. I'm like, this is fucking gross. Get
Yeah.
me the fuck out of here. I don't care. I
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah.
I was just like, not okay.
Yeah.
As time went on, I personally, and I didn't have to, but like my parents have been married. It was 3 weeks shy of their 40th anniversary.
Mm.
And I probably didn't like get that real like grief until a year later. I spent the first year just like balled up in this anxiety. Is like every time my mom called, I'm like, "You okay? Is everything okay? What do you need?" And like she didn't ask me to do that. Obviously, that was my own thing. So I took that role of like, "Is everybody okay? Is everything good?" And it was really intense.
Yeah.
And then I finally was like, almost a year later, had to be like, "It's time for you to like comprehend what happened."
Sure.
And that was kind of the role I took, I think. But yeah, we all really dealt with it in different ways. We really did. Like me, my sister, and my mom were polar opposites. Like my mom was just like, I have to live here.
Yeah.
I have to live in this house. I have shit that needs to get done. She was very much getting things done. What I do love about my mom, she was not the woman that's like, I'm going to like cry in bed every single day.
Yeah. That
Like
was my mom.
she figured it out. And she knew that like being surrounded by family and friends. The weird part for me was like, which always happens, is like the extended family or anybody else, they get over it fast. Those first couple months, people are checking in on you. And then like 4 months later, it's like, get over it. Not get over it, but like, you're like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Or like people that lost sorry, but it's like, she even had friends that like got divorced. They're like, you just figured out. It's like, we didn't get divorced.
Yeah, asshole. Yeah.
He died.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's never coming back.
Yeah. This
like,
was
I don't have a choice.
I didn't want this. Exactly. Yeah.
Correct.
This wasn't, it's supposed to be in the cards that I was dealt, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think for Stacy, my sister, I think, I came home a lot too, to visit, and like, she didn't always come home as much. So I think those things started to like kind of go through her head. So we all dealt with it in very, very different ways. In the immediate, I'm a cripple.
Did you guys feel tension amongst the three of you and how you kind of were dealing with it and grappling with the loss of your dad?
I think a little. Yeah. I had to eventually needed to put like a few boundaries up, because I felt like I was taking on a lot. Like, again, not that they were doing anything on purpose, but like when I didn't feel like talking about something, I needed that to be okay.
To be respected. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that was like a little bit of a learning curve where it was like, there were times where I just got like, it's, 9:00 at night, I'm getting ready for bed, and, they're dropping a bomb of like sadness on me. And I'm like, dude, but that's just how it is. And then you're there for everybody. But like, I think that's why I said I spent like that first year so focused on everybody else that like come when that year hit, I was like, I have to figure out
you got to get yourself
how
straight.
I'm going to work this out.
Yeah.
So, but it's tough, and it's
fucking brutal.
But yeah, I mean, more power to like my mom for just figuring it out. And, she's still living in the house, and it's tough.
Same with mine. Yeah. I mean, mine was, and it was interesting because when we'd found out he was sick, they thought for the longest time, because he was having these weird, like he was getting off balance and kind of like leaning into a wall, and he'd go to see his like family physician. It was like, nah, he just has an inner ear infection or something. There's crystals in his ear or something like that. Then they found out again, he had malignant metastasized melanoma all over his body, brain, everything. Right. But it was a 6-month, ride from diagnosis to when he passed, sort of thing. So there was definitely, there was a chunk of time where reality was kind of setting in for everybody. My mom definitely was in shock. Like my mom the entire time was just, and I don't blame her by any means. It was, this was the love of her life, her partner, the only person.
Sure.
Again, she loves me. She loves the rest of the kids, but like this was her person.
It's her person.
Sort of. Yeah. And so through, all of it, we would have talks, and she just was like, I need you kids to be my eyes and ears, because I can't process anything. I can't figure this out. I'm just in a daze sort of thing. But I mean, she's figuring it out now as best she can, but it's weird. My sisters, I think, had an interesting time, but again, of dealing with it. But I go back I respect them for the way that they had to deal with it, because it's just different for everybody. But
100%. I think to that point, it's like everybody it's not for me to make sense of how they're processing
No.
either.
Yeah.
That's not my role,
Yeah.
and I think like my mom had like, I not grateful for this, but like my dad was like the last year pretty much like in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So I think my mom had like a lot of like prep too
Mm-hmm.
on like how she was gonna like, I mean, 40 years
Yeah.
sharing a home with another human.
Yeah.
And my dad was a doer. Not
Yeah.
that my mom wasn't, but like, he did all the things in the house. He
Yeah.
was, man's man and
Right.
provided and did all these things. So I think my mom had some like prep while
Mm-hmm.
he was really sick and like
Mm-hmm.
couldn't do a lot of things of
Mm-hmm.
like being more independent in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying she wasn't, but like she'll even admit to this day, she's like, dude, you're my hero. Like, you moved away, you did
Yep.
it, you've been through shit, you've
Right.
lived alone, you've done all the things.
Right.
I think now she's getting into a space of like, living alone is really lame.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hate this. You know what I mean? And like, that's
Yeah.
fair.
Right.
It's been almost 5 years. She's like, okay, I'm like over this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was, so she did have like a little bit of that, which was good, but yeah, it's wild. But I'm not the best, like it's like those things are so much like larger than me. And I'm, like I said, a very emotional person, and I'm all about feeling all the feels.
Yeah.
But you do hit a point too where I had this weird space of like, how many more times can I cry to like a friend? How many more times can I do this? Where you start to like internalize it,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, they're like, no, you're not a burden. You're like, I feel like you start to feel like a burden because you're like, I'm just fucking sad.
even again, like I was saying before we started recording, I had a, little cry session upstairs, and Lex came back and she's like, "Are you good?" And I was like, I just had a rough moment. And even with her, it's my wife and, my best friend. And I will exactly feel like that. I'm like, I don't want to put this on her even though she's so gracious, and it's never that, but you do feel like that. My big thing I really try to lean into now as just, society stereotypes for being a man is this whole horseshit of like, again, like you can't show emotion, which, younger generations in our generation, I think are very much kind of debunking and, tearing that apart.
Which I love.
Which is great because I had been in therapy as well. And it was one of those things of where I worked through and learned that you're not like, it's not a poor outlook on your manliness just because you show emotion. And now, again, going back to being a parent, I want to have a daughter that sees her dad, show emotion and be a human being. And when she gets old enough that like I just send her just lovey gushy texts and a ton of emojis and like kissy face, like heart, like I want her to see her dad in that light, because all the other bullshit that you attribute of being handy and riding motorcycles and all, like those are also me, which I love, but I don't want her to have a singular outlook of like what a man is and this kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
So the dead dad stuff, I just like lean into it and I just go, if I'm gonna have a cry, I don't even care if I'm in public. I'm gonna have a cry. I'm gonna fucking have a cry right now. And everyone else.
My dad was a softie.
Was he?
Yeah, my dad was soft. Like I feel like he was like very much. I mean, listen, he wasn't like, let's sit down and talk about our feelings. Like, but yeah, he was like a softie, and I think that's like why I probably also am the way I am.
Yeah,
and I'm like a feeler.
D was too. D was always really big because he would tell. I mean, he never remembers saying "I love you" to him.
That's nuts.
It's nuts, right? But that's
nuts.
He recognized that enough as a kid and a young man that when he had the opportunity to become a parent, he overly. I mean, I remember every time I would talk with him or anything, just every day, "I love you." Like, "Have a great day, I love you." Which was
we never went to bed without that.
No, yeah. And again, it was a huge thing for me. And impactful then for him telling those stories of like, I didn't grow up in a household with that. And so I wanted to overly do it for you all. And it resonated. And I was like, okay, I want to make sure that I'm continuing this with like my own family and my own friends and all that stuff. But
yeah, no, it's a lot. It really is. I mean, I deal with it still. And it's like, even like I got pretty choked up when you were talking before, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And that's what like like my friends that have like gone through it since me, I'm like, my biggest thing, and this is so like therapy driven too, or people like poke fun sometimes, but I'm like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like everything you're feeling, whatever you're feeling is genuine, right?
Yeah.
Like you're sad, you're happy, you're mad, you're this, you're that. Like, just feel it. It's okay. As long as you're not doing something that's harming another
Yeah.
person, all those feelings are okay.
Yeah. Has
You're
there
not
been
taking it out.
anything large that you can kind of sit and realize and it resonates with you since your dad's passing that it's changed kind of your outlook on life?
Um, yeah, there's tons of things. I feel like I try, like, I don't really sweat the small stuff
Yeah.
really anymore. I
That's
think
huge.
that things are just larger. I think between, like, I had a friend that passed away pretty tragically
Yep.
before my father, and
Yep.
I think like that was a huge switch. So I think like you just have to you turn everything into being grateful, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm so lucky. I have my health. I have this. I have that. Like, I will say like certain things when it comes to like marriage or even having kids.
Mm-hmm.
In a negative sense, I would say that like what has gone on with my dad has like also put like a piece of maybe why I don't
Mm.
push for those certain things. Cause
Mm-hmm.
like I know it seems so like trivial to some people, but it's like, well, I don't care if I get married. What am I gonna do? Walk myself down the aisle? You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like, you're just like, fuck, they're not there. It's
That's an
like
honest
tough.
feeling, though. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that those are like, it seems silly to somebody to be like, that's why you wouldn't get married. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's real. It's a
You
real
go, yeah.
feeling.
You're like the thought comes. I'm not necessarily saying that that's going to necessitate I'm never going to get
Yeah.
married, but like that thought creeps up. Yeah, that'd be a tough moment, dude.
Yeah, but I think that like my biggest thing is just like really trying to be like grateful of what I have. And
It's
like I
huge.
remember even when like my friend passed away before like my father, I remember people would be like, "Oh, this fucking happened and I had the worst day ever." And I know that everything is like relative to
Mm-hmm.
like
We talk
their
about this with
life,
Jen.
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. And
Like
you're like, "Oh, that was the
insignificant
worst
problems.
day you
Yeah.
had."
Mm-hmm.
So I think like I've also had to like teach myself too that like they're so fortunate
Mm-hmm.
that like they maybe have not experienced certain things. And
Yeah.
I think there is something experiencing like deep pain like that
Yeah.
is like I'm almost like obviously I would reverse it in a second, but there is something that you can pull that's like a learning lesson or to be grateful
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
of I'm so glad like everybody's got their health. I have an amazing group of friends.
Yep.
I have all of these things and it like strives me, it like makes me want to be better and
Yeah.
like be like do the things maybe he couldn't do or
Yeah.
you know my dad spent his whole life just work, 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 work. And when I retire, I'm going to do all these great things. And then he died.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, fuck, I'm going to live my goddamn life.
I think it's a
I'm
common
going to,
thread. Yeah. For most people. I was talking with somebody the other day about this and I was like, I know it's again, stereotype tale as old as time, but that was the same thing, having conversations with my dad and his, worked my entire life and did these things, but the things I really wish I would have put my energy into was not
totally.
working, was doing, this and that. But it's, it's like for me, I resonate with all those things of, finding ways to have more gratitude. I try to lean into, servicing others sort of thing. Like, how can I,
Yeah.
be more of service? I think the one thing that it was like a characteristic trait of my dad, which I was always envious of. And even as a kid, I was like, God damn, how's this guy do this? That I want to try to be better at, but it also sometimes conflicts with my personality being a little bit more introverted. But he was the type of guy that would walk into a room and immediately make it better. He put
Oh,
everybody
yeah.
at ease. He brought such like just a loving, caring, nurturing life. Like that
Mm-hmm.
was his love
Yeah.
language was, taking care of others. Like that
You're like,
truly
I want to
was.
be that.
Yes. And I've again, since his death and over time, I resonate and you kind of think about these things. And it was just, it was such a cool characteristic for him to have. And he shared with others in that way. And
Yeah.
I think about it. I'm like, that needs to be a priority. Like when I'm amongst community and even just
Mm-hmm.
family and with Lex,
Sure.
it's I don't want to your point, I don't want to be the fucking Debbie Downer and this and that. So but
No, I know, but you have to lean into it. That's what people are there for. Like your friends
mm-hmm.
are your friends, like if you will. It's so corny to say sometimes like your chosen family, you know what I mean? It's
It's the
like
best.
I love a community. I mean, we've talked about this all the time. I'm a very social person,
Yeah.
but like as I'm getting older, it's so funny too. Like I look and I'm like, I'm getting way more like this person maybe can like fade out. They're just not adding value to my
Oh God,
life. And
that
I
is,
think
I
here we
go through that
go.
every hour of every day. I feel like it's, yeah.
And I don't think it's like in a mean way. I just think as like
No.
as you're getting older, you're like, I only have a limited amount of time. Yeah, I'm working, or in your case, you're like, I've got a wife, a kid, and all the things, and
Yeah.
I'm working and I'm busy, and it's like I just don't want to share my time with just anyone anymore. And I
No,
think that like
was there 4.5 billion people or something here on
it's
the
too
earth or
many.
something? Like if one of them, they want to be an asshole, it's like a Keanu Reeves saying like, good, but you just help me
Yeah,
narrow in on the, the remaining people that are here. I completely agree.
yeah,
I don't think that that's rude by any means. I think you can go about that in a rude way, but I don't think that if you just openly,
no,
you run across somebody and you're like, I think I'm good not having you in my life. Like, and I
yeah.
can respectfully just kind of push you to the side. I think that's fine.
And I think that's like one thing as I was like after my dad and all that stuff, where I was like, it just really is important to like know who those people are,
Yeah.
like who got your back, so you can stop saying I'm sorry. I'm the queen of saying I'm sorry.
Mm,
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm
mm,
being this, or I feel like I'm being that. So it's like working on those things too, to be
hmm.
like, they're there for a reason.
Yeah.
I listen to their shit,
Yep.
whether it's big, small, whatever.
Yep.
This is real stuff, and it's
Yeah.
real heavy,
Yeah.
and it's heavy to hold on your back alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not that you want to like do that, but like this is like almost so cheesy, but it's like having a rock on your back, and like your friends are just going to help lift it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like
No.
that's what they're there
Absolutely.
for.
Yeah.
And I think like, sometimes people that are like, oh, like loners or this and that, I was like, no, it is really important, especially when you go through something tragic, to just like lean into that too.
Yes.
Lean
Yeah.
into those friends and make sure that you have like a community to be able to talk to. And
Well,
obviously like therapy is great and all the things, but
absolutely. I think, but it's showing a vulnerable side for yourself makes other people like feel more comfortable with you as well. Cause they go, oh, this
yeah,
person isn't putting on airs or trying to like, give me the narrative they think I want to hear. They're literally kind of opening themselves up to me right
yeah,
now. And so that puts people's others kind of, walls down. And yeah, I think it's great.
yeah.
I sorry to throw you for a loop on this conversation today. We had
It's
talked about other stuff.
okay.
This just like right before we recorded, I was just like, fuck, I'd like
I was just going to ask you what your pet peeves were.
we'll put a
So
pin
we
in
really, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's another episode right there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
another one. But no, it's all good. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, like, they're sad topics and they're things, but it's real. And I
Mhm.
think, like, if anything, it's so beneficial, at least I feel so,
Mhm.
to hear people talk about it and normalize it a little bit more.
Yes,
That
that's exactly it.
it's okay to feel like shit. It's
Yep.
okay to be mad. It's okay to be any feeling that you have,
Yep.
because what happened is real and it fucking sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No.
like, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
And again, as long as you're not hurting anybody and in the process of all that, then it's it is what it is. Sorry,
Yeah,
I
do your
lost some
thing.
light.
No, you're good.
All right.
What's the rest of your day looking like? You got work?
Work, 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 baby.
Nice, man. I'm
Yeah.
off.
Lucky.
Yeah, this entire month I've like used up all my PTO. So, but why would I not? I'm in New York. Why would I?
Yeah, who
not?
cares?
Yeah. So,
Can you send me pictures of your food later?
yeah, I got a double order of halal. I got a lamb and
Ooh,
chicken,
fun.
dude. We went to Bath House last night too. Did Lexi tell you about this spot?
No. Is it the bar?
No, this is
Oh,
literally
it's a bathhouse.
It's literally a bathhouse, but like super trendy, upscale. Lexi and I
Nice.
joke about it. If you did have this in Louisville or any other place, the people would not like everybody. There's a Greek god sort of thing. They're
Yeah.
just gorgeous men and women everywhere. But
Yeah.
so
Well,
nice.
that's fun.
So we did that last night and felt
Fun.
refreshed and got steam rooms and saunas and cold plunges and
Oh, that must be so nice for you.
it is the bougiest thing that I've leaned into.
Dude, that shit. Jerry like loves that shit. There's like not enough of them in LA.
Yeah, well, not in LA, but at least for just like San Diego, that Jamie and Taylor were saying, they're like, why don't these, or if they exist, we don't know where they are, sort of thing.
They don't. It's like We Spa, where it's just like everybody's naked and it's really
that is exactly, they were like, yeah, everyone's naked, or it's just kind of a weird environment sort of thing.
Yeah, you're like watching someone like like clean their bush. You're like,
No,
ew.
no. This is very trendy. And then you go get a
Yeah.
cocktail and you're just kind of hanging
Oh,
out. And
love that.
it was great, man. But,
Well,
well, buddy, it was good chatting. So,
yeah, it's great.
All right.
Thanks for bringing me down this morning.
You know what? I serve a purpose,
Just
right?
kidding.
I served my purpose for today. So, all right. I'll talk to you
All right.
later.